In particular, this mountain that Moses is standing on. This is Mount Sinai or Mount Horeb in the Bible.
It is indeed true that Saudi Arabia is a place of great religious importance, particularly in Islam, as it is the birthplace of the faith and home to the two holiest cities, Mecca and Medina. However, the assertion that Mount Sinai is located in Saudi Arabia and its connection to Christianity is a topic of debate and controversy. Mount Sinai. Traditionally, Mount Sinai is widely believed to be located in the southern part of the Sinai Peninsula, which is currently part of Egypt. This location holds significant religious importance in both Judaism and Christianity, as it is traditionally considered the place where, according to the Bible, God revealed the Ten Commandments to Moses. The claim that Mount Sinai is in Saudi Arabia challenges the long-standing traditional views held by many believers. Some individuals and groups have suggested that a mountain called Jebel al-Lawz in northwestern Saudi Arabia is the actual location of Mount Sinai. They cite various pieces of evidence, including geological features, ancient inscriptions, and archaeological findings, to support this theory. However, it's essential to note that this theory remains highly controversial and not widely accepted within the academic and religious communities. Many scholars, historians, and archaeologists continue to support the traditional identification of Mount Sinai in the Sinai Peninsula of Egypt, based on historical and biblical accounts. Mount Sinai holds deep significance in the three Abrahamic religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Here's why this mountain is so important to believers in each of these faiths. Judaism and Mount Sinai. In Judaism, Mount Sinai is where God gave the Torah, including the Ten Commandments, to Moses. It symbolizes God's presence, holiness, and justice. The encounter between God and Moses on Mount Sinai is seen as a pivotal moment in establishing the covenant between God and the Jewish people. It's where Moses received the blueprint for the tabernacle, where God would dwell among the Israelites. Christianity and Mount Sinai. In Christianity, Mount Sinai is also significant, as Jesus taught his followers about living by the spirit of the law rather than just its words, emphasizing love and grace. This mountain is where Jesus' appearance changed before Moses and Elijah, highlighting his divine nature. Mount Sinai's connection to the Old Testament events underscores the fulfillment of the law of Moses through Jesus' teachings. Muslims and Mount Sinai. For Muslims, Mount Sinai, known as Jabal Musa, is considered a place where God spoke to Moses and gave him the tablets of the Torah, which are a part of Islamic holy scriptures. The rules and commandments in these tablets serve as a code of conduct and reflect God's will for His people. The mountain also represents an encounter between humanity and divinity, emphasizing the importance of obedience to God's commands. However, the debate over the actual location of Mount Sinai has persisted. The traditional belief placed it in the Egyptian Sinai Peninsula, largely influenced by Queen Helena's efforts. Over time, discrepancies between this location and biblical descriptions led to doubts and skepticism regarding the accuracy of this tradition. Some scholars have turned to archaeological evidence, but the lack of concrete proof for the traditional site has only intensified the mystery surrounding Mount Sinai's true location. Consequently, some contemporary research suggests that the mountain might actually be in Saudi Arabia. The search for the genuine location of this sacred mountain continues, with the importance of Mount Sinai in the three Abrahamic faiths ensuring that the mystery remains a subject of deep interest and debate. The mystery surrounding the precise location of Mount Sinai has led to ongoing debate and speculation. While the majority of traditional religious accounts place it in the southern part of the Sinai Peninsula in Egypt, some scholars and researchers propose alternative locations, including Saudi Arabia, based on their interpretations of historical and archaeological evidence. This debate over the mountain's location continues to generate discussion and interest among those interested in the religious and historical aspects of the Abrahamic faiths. Many centuries ago, Emperor Constantine reigned over the vast Roman Empire, and he played a pivotal role in the adoption of Christianity as the state religion. Notably, his mother, Queen Helena, was profoundly influenced by a mosaic of beliefs and cultures. She undertook the ambitious task of erecting monuments at locations referenced in the Bible. One of these sacred places was believed to be the site where the burning bush and Mount Sinai were situated. Interestingly, Queen Helena never set foot at the location she asserted was in the Egyptian peninsula. Nevertheless, this belief was embraced and upheld for an extended period, becoming the conventional representation of Mount Sinai on the Sinai Peninsula. However, the passage of time brought to light that this traditional location did not align with the biblical descriptions. This incongruence perplexed scholars who endeavored to find corroborative evidence in the archaeological record. The absence of concrete proof for this traditional narrative even led some to question the veracity of the Exodus story itself. The myriad of translations and traditions surrounding this historical event had caused misunderstandings, veering us away from the actual account. As years passed, the remarkable events of the Exodus gradually faded into obscurity, transforming into allegorical tales laden with hidden meanings. Over time, a prevailing belief emerged, asserting that Mount Sinai could be found in Egypt, in the southern central region of the Sinai Peninsula. This view had been steadfastly upheld since ancient times. This mountain is known as Jabal Musa, meaning the Mountain of Moses in Arabic. Notably, it hosts the renowned St. Catherine's Monastery, which stands as one of the world's oldest and most revered Christian monastic institutions. Significantly, Jabal Musa exhibits features that align with the biblical descriptions, including a charred summit, an altar, a cave, and a split rock. The widely accepted location of Mount Sinai today is a granitic peak situated in the south-central Sinai Peninsula of Egypt, known as Jabal Musa, or the Mountain of Moses. This location is rooted in the religious traditions of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, all of which regard it as the place where God revealed the Ten Commandments to Moses. In the early Christian era, this area was inhabited by hermits, and in 530 Common Era, the monastery of St. Catherine was constructed at the northern foot of the mountain. This monastery is believed to be the world's oldest continually inhabited Christian monastery and possesses a library containing ancient biblical manuscripts. Mount Sinai itself stands at an elevation of 2,285 meters, 7,497 feet, making it a moderately high mountain near the city of St. Catherine in what is now the Sinai Peninsula. It is surrounded by taller peaks within the same mountain range, including Mount Catherine, the highest peak in Egypt at 2,629 meters, 8,625 feet. The summit of Mount Sinai features a mosque still utilized by Muslims, as well as a Greek Orthodox chapel enclosing the rock, which is considered the source of the biblical stone tablets. The summit is also home to Moses' cave, where tradition holds that Moses awaited the reception of the Ten Commandments. Controversy arises when some scientists propose alternate locations in Saudi Arabia as the modern-day site of Mount Sinai. One such proposition is rooted in the work of Charles Becker, an English traveler, geographer, and biblical critic. In 1873, Becker introduced the idea that Mount Sinai was a volcano, based on biblical descriptions of the theophany on the mountain. He initially identified a mountain in Saudi Arabia Jabal al-Nurai, near Mecca, as the possible location of Mount Sinai. He believed this mountain was also the original site of the Kaaba, a pre-Islamic sanctuary. Becker's volcanic theory was not widely accepted by other scholars and explorers who proposed different locations in Egypt, Jordan, or Israel. Some interpreted the biblical texts metaphorically or symbolically rather than literally. Becker passed away in 1874, shortly after visiting Jabal al-Nurai. In the 20th century, two explorers, Alois Musil and H. St. J. B. Philby, suggested a location for Mount Sinai in Saudi Arabia. They proposed that Mount Sinai was Jabal al-Manafah, situated near Wadi el-Harob, about 20 kilometers north of Juna Musila. Musil and Philby asserted that Mount Sinai should be located on the eastern side of the Gulf of Aqaba in the territory of Midian, where Moses had lived before returning to Egypt. They visited Jabal al-Manafah in 1910 and 1952, respectively, confirming its suitability based on geographical position, historical associations, and local traditions. Another proposal emerged from Jean Koenig, a French scholar, in 1971. Koenig suggested that the biblical descriptions of Mount Sinai match the volcanic peak of Hala el-Badr, also known as Jabal al-Lawz, located about 100 kilometers east of the Gulf of Aqaba. Koenig's arguments included considerations of distance and direction from Egypt, the presence of water sources and vegetation, suitability for camping and grazing, and geological and topographical features of the mountain. Ron Wyatt, an American nurse anesthetist and amateur archaeologist, made a more controversial claim regarding Mount Sinai's location. He argued that Jabal al-Lawz, near al-Bad, approximately 100 kilometers east of the Gulf of Aqaba, was Mount Sinai. His interpretation of the biblical narrative and observations of features and artifacts on and around the mountain led him to this conclusion. Wyatt also asserted that he had found other biblical sites and relics, such as Noah's Ark, Sodom and Gomorrah, the Ark of the Covenant, and the blood of Jesus. Discoveries. Meanwhile, there are other astonishing discoveries in Saudi Arabia. One of them is the revelation that the desert landscape was once lush and teeming with vegetation. Surprisingly, even before delving into scientific evidence, historical texts attest to this fact. The Quran, the holy book of Islam, which was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad in the 7th century CE in Mecca and Medina, cities in western Saudi Arabia, contains numerous verses describing the natural wonders of Allah's creation, such as the sun, moon, stars, mountains, seas, plants, animals, and humans. It also mentions historical events and places related to Arabia. Additionally, some of the oldest written sources describing the geography and climate of Arabia come from ancient historians, geographers, and travelers like Herodotus, Pliny, Strabo, Josephus, and Eusebius. These authors depict Arabia as a land of mountains, valleys, rivers, lakes, forests, pastures, and spices. They also mention trade routes that connected Arabia with other regions, such as the incense route, which transported frankincense and myrrh from southern Arabia to Egypt, the Mediterranean, and Mesopotamia. Fossil evidence further supports these findings. Fossil records, the preserved remains or impressions of past organisms, provide evidence for the evolution and diversity of life on Earth, and the environmental changes that have occurred over time. Fossils of elephants, hippos, and crocodiles, large animals requiring abundant water and food sources, have been discovered near Jabal al-Lawz, the mountain suggested as the location of Mount Sinai. These fossils also appear near ancient lake beds across the Arabian Peninsula, which have been identified using satellite imagery. These fossils date back to 350,000 years ago or earlier, suggesting that Saudi Arabia once had a wetter and greener climate in the past. Scientists have also found fossils of seahorses, small fish that inhabit shallow coastal waters and feed on small crustaceans and plankton. These fossils, discovered near Al-Waj on the Red Sea coast of Saudi Arabia, date back to 7,000 years ago or earlier, indicating a higher sea level and warmer climate compared to today. Moreover, fossils of various plants, including ferns, cycads, palms, grasses, legumes, and other flowering plants, have been found in different parts of Saudi Arabia, representing various geological periods. This suggests that Saudi Arabia had different types and phases of vegetation in its history, ranging from the Permian to the Quaternary periods. Fossils of humans have been unearthed in several sites in Saudi Arabia, including Khalil Amishan, Al-Ula, and Al-Jabal Qatar. These findings include stone tools, pottery, inscriptions, petroglyphs, structures, and human bones, spanning various periods of human history, from the Lower Paleolithic to the Neolithic. Geological records further support the Green Saudi Arabia theory. Ancient river channels and lake basins, indicating the existence of rainfall, surface runoff, and a freshwater ecosystem, have been identified in different parts of Saudi Arabia, such as Taima, Al-Ula, Al-Jizan, and Rab al-Khali, dating back to various geological periods, from the Pleistocene to the Paleocene. Scientists have also examined the chemical composition and isotopic ratios of rocks and sediments in various parts of Saudi Arabia, such as Taima, Al-Jorf, Al-Jizan, Rab al-Khali, and Iran, dating back to different geological periods from the Quaternary to the Paleocene, indicating varying types and phases of climate throughout Saudi Arabia's history. Furthermore, coral reefs and seagrass beds have been discovered in various parts of Saudi Arabia, such as Al-Waj, Yanbu, Jeddah, Farasan Islands, Jaizan Bay, Ras Tanura, Jubail, Dammam, Khobar, Kataf, Sawar Bay, Turret Bay, Luj Bay, Ubhale Island, Karan Island, Korean Island, Jana Island, Triad Island, and Marjan Island. These findings date back to different geological periods, including the Holocene and Pleistocene. These discoveries suggest that Saudi Arabia was once a thriving and ecologically diverse region, challenging our traditional perceptions of its arid desert landscape. These remarkable findings challenge our understanding of Saudi Arabia's historical climate and environment, revealing a more diverse and vibrant landscape than previously believed. The evidence presented, from ancient texts to geological records and fossils, paints a picture of a region that was not always the arid desert we associate with it today. The presence of ancient river channels and lake basins in Saudi Arabia indicates a past with more abundant rainfall and a well-established hydrological cycle. This would have supported a variety of plant and animal life, turning the arid desert into a thriving ecosystem. These findings are especially significant as they date back to various geological periods, covering millions of years. The chemical composition and isotopic ratios of rocks and sediments in Saudi Arabia offer valuable insights into the environmental conditions that prevailed during different periods of the region's history. The diversity of geological periods represented suggests that Saudi Arabia has experienced a range of climates from wetter and warmer to drier and more arid over millions of years. The presence of coral reefs and seagrass beds in various coastal areas of Saudi Arabia further supports the notion of a more temperate and nurturing environment in the past. These structures and marine communities rely on clear, warm seawater and sunlight, indicating conditions vastly different from the current arid climate. The discoveries of human fossils, ancient tools, and archaeological sites in Saudi Arabia offer a glimpse into the rich history of human occupation in the region. These findings span different periods, from the Lower Paleolithic to the Neolithic, reflecting the adaptability and resilience of human populations in diverse environmental settings. The accompanying tombs, known as pendant or ring burials, are stone structures that line both sides of the funerary avenues. Pendant burials consist of circular cairns with long tails extending perpendicular to the avenue, while ring burials consist of circular cairns enclosed by low walls. These tombs come in various sizes and shapes, usually standing about 2 meters high and measuring up to 20 meters in length. They contain human remains and grave goods, including seashells, stone tools, and animal bones. These funerary avenues and tombs were discovered by researchers from the University of Western Australia through aerial surveys, ground surveys, excavations, and satellite imagery. Approximately 18,000 tombs have been mapped along the funerary avenues in the counties of Al-Aula and Kaiba. Radiocarbon dating and other methods have been employed to sample and date around 80 of these tombs, revealing that they date back approximately 4,500 years to the Bronze Age period, between 2600 and 2000 BC, of Arabian history. These avenues and tombs may have been created by nomadic tribes who followed seasonal patterns of rainfall and vegetation. They could have served multiple purposes, including trade routes, migration pathways, communication channels, and sites for ritual activities. This discovery adds a previously unknown dimension to Saudi Arabia's ancient history and culture, dispelling the notion of it as a barren and inhospitable land. It demonstrates that this region was once a dynamic and diverse landscape that accommodated various forms of human settlement and expression over time. Additionally, it underscores the potential and value of modern technology, such as satellite imagery, in exploring and documenting archaeological sites in remote and inaccessible regions. The discoveries and developments in Saudi Arabia are rewriting the narrative of this historically rich nation. With a blend of archaeological wonders, technological progress, cultural preservation, and green energy initiatives, Saudi Arabia is undeniably at the forefront of global innovation and progress. These groundbreaking revelations have captivated the world's attention, leaving both atheists and believers alike in awe of what this remarkable nation has to offer. Thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe.